again, yeah? Episode 2, Make It Easy, the podcast. I am your host, B to the E to the Z. Now, I got another special guest coming in, which I'm very grateful for. But before we get to that, yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who stays tuned with me. Thank you to everyone who supports me, everyone who locks in with me, whether it's music, whether it's short films, whether it's the podcast. Thank you for being with me on my journey, on our journey, should I say, yeah? So with that in mind, I want people to know that me doing this podcast is not just about me. And if you notice, the guests that I have on here, they're not what you would consider my typical guests. They're not necessarily all artists or active artists. They're not all musicians or from my connection or my network of community that I've built up in terms of the musical community. They're not necessarily that type of guests on this season. Not to say I won't have them on here, but I want to give people a different flavor. I want people to learn new things. I want to learn new things. And that's what this podcast is about. So, with that in mind, I want to say this to all my young G's out here, all my young musicians, all my young creatives, all my creatives, period. If you're a music creative, yeah, I want you to take the music business side of things very serious. Now, this is not to say that you don't already, but what I'm saying is the reason I've been able to have longevity, whether people like me or not, don't really care, yeah, but I've been able to have longevity because I know the music business, yeah. So in the links, in the description below, there's links to PRS, PPL, and some other information, other music sites you can go to find out what your rights are. Like, for example, if you're a producer, have you got your publishing? Because if you don't have it, someone else is probably collecting that money for you. Yeah? PRS, Performing Rights Society. When I signed up, it was free. Now you got to pay. Yeah? But believe me when I say it's worth looking into these things because you can earn money regardless to whether you're in the spotlight or not. Yeah? There's things out here where you can actually make a career, make money off your music, off your production, off all those things. So I would advise you to look into it. And like I said, I put some links in the description below. So please do have a look, educate yourselves. Any questions, just hit me up, DMs, whatever, it's fine. I don't mind spending time because investing in yourself is worth it. And people invested in me and taught me these things. So that's what I'm here to do for you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be selfish. But I want you to elevate like what I've been able to do, you know what I'm saying? And then we can elevate together. So yeah, in the description, check it out. Any questions, hit me up. Stay tuned for the podcast. Because it's real out here. Make it easy. The podcast. Boom. Okay, we're here. Episode 2, yeah? Make it easy, the podcast. I got a very special guest today. My friend, Keiran Miller. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, good, bro.
Good. So, let me tell you how me and Keiran met, yeah? So, transformation, that's what this episode's called, just so you know from earlier, yeah? So, I met Keiran, he was my personal trainer down at our local community gym. And he helped me not only transform my health in terms of fitness, but think about things differently. So, with that, we're going to get straight into it. So, Mr. Miller, let's start with how did lockdown affect you?
Amazingly.
Okay, elaborate.
Amazingly. Yeah. So for the longest time, I was telling people that I needed 3 months break, 3 months off of work.
Okay.
Because I knew what I was doing at the time wasn't where I wanted to be in the future. And I'm a big believer in manifestation. So I don't want to say that I caused the global pandemic. But it's like that, right? So for me, it's like, okay, I was asking for this time off. Now I got time off. And initially, I thought it was going to be 3 months. It turned out to be a whole year, right? So in that space of time, I went about becoming the person I wanted to be. Okay. So this was doing more stuff online, more stuff on video, and more to do with the mindset as opposed to the physical body, right? So I started on TikTok actually then, but I didn't continue at the time. And I just I went full force in that. Also, I started to do trading and working with like financial markets and promoting that stuff as well.
Okay.
So I got into like more money and understanding that side of things as well at the time.
Mm.
And yeah, it was just it was an amazing time in that it gave the opportunity to make those changes that I wanted to make. So to go into kind of a bit of detail, I was on my own journey in the sense that at the time I was living with my dad as well.
Okay.
So me and my long-term partner split up.
Okay.
We had a young son together.
Yeah.
And I was on a journey of grief as well, like healing from certain bereavements and things. And yeah, it was like a deep time of kind of reflection and self-development, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so go back to the TikTok thing, yeah? What did you start doing in lockdown on TikTok?
So essentially, it's kind of what I'm doing now, which is, I don't want to use the term life coaching because I think that term's a bit kind of played out, but
yeah, it's a bit condescending, isn't it?
Yeah, right. But really, it's about changing perspective.
Okay.
Giving people the perspective shifts, and I kind of see people's brains like a Rubik's cube, right? It's like you just need to get one colors on one side, and like, oh, okay, that's how I do that. And then things kind of shift and open up. So really, it's about kind of giving deep understanding and knowings.
Okay, so what short videos on TikTok of different like techniques, methods of understanding yourself type thing, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So from there, what obviously, like you said, you're going through personal things as well, so it's kind of like a fight or flight moment where everything changes for you. So after the TikTok thing, what was the next stage of your journey on that project?
So it's funny because I would say, like, I've always said that my life is a reflection of my work. So, for example, when I was heavily into injuries, it was I used to joke and say that, like, I've had every injury under the sun, so I could be better at giving advice around injuries. And I think that's kind of how I applied myself mentally. I had a lot of coaches, mentors, therapy, done a lot of transformational programs, personal development work on myself. And that's kind of course, births, like, the project. So I had this kind of moment where it was really, again, like a mentor taught me this, right? And we spoke a little bit about this before, which is around happiness. And it's this concept of making your main focus to be happy. And it was actually a book. The book's called Backbone. I forget the author who wrote this book, but he said it in the book. He said, right, challenge yourself for 24 hours to not think any negative thoughts. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a try.
Not easy though, right?
Bro, like when I tell you, I was shocked at like the frequency of how often negativity will enter the mind. So I was like, whoa, so there was like, I'm onto something here. So anyway, I started to live just being happy. And anytime anything negative would happen, I would just shift and be like, nah, like, I'm not gonna let that affect me. I'm happy, I'm cool. And within like 3 weeks, I turned my whole life around in a sense of, because I knew I needed to move out of my dad's place. And I didn't know how I was gonna do it, so I didn't have the finances at the time, but everything just kind of started to fall into place. It was just like magic, right? And this goes back to the whole manifestation thing. So that really showed me, like, okay, this thing's real. When you align yourself energetically and keep yourself in a certain way, what you have in your mind in terms of your visions, they do come into reality. But again, as we know, the cliche thing is that it's always us that's stopping us or blocks us from our blessings, right? So since then, I've basically just developed these concepts and ideas, and I've started to work with people and apply them, and just getting some amazing results from, delivering these kind of understandings that I've developed.
Okay, so in terms of, I want to go back a bit. So you said you were looking into the economics and the money side of things. So tell us about that and what was your journey upon that path?
So recently I've understood this concept of themes of consciousness, right? We can call it. Now, you may have seen there's this like vibrational scale with like fear and anger on the lower end. And you've got like joy and love and everything on the higher end, right? Well, we're always running certain themes of consciousness. And this is a really new understanding for myself, so it's not fully formed thought yet. But one thing that I've always had to deal with is financial issues. And I think even to say that for most people it's not really a financial issue, it's just that like if you really pay attention to what's on our minds a lot of the time, facts. You know, I grew up in St. Paul's in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, you know, there were jokes about poverty, prostitution, drugs,
all the
crime.
things that happen in the hood world that we associate with happening.
Right.
We are.
But we didn't know any different because obviously we grew up in it. So for us it was normal, right?
Yeah.
But then as you get older, and I always use this analogy of how our minds or our life is like an invisible maze, right? So let's say you want to get from A to B, but you don't know that there's a wall 2 steps ahead. So you walk forward and then you feel resistance, right? Like something's holding you back. But it's because in your mind you've got this wall. So you might go left, you might go right, but all the time it's always like deviating you from going from
getting to
A to B, right?
Yeah.
So as you grow up, you have to undo those walls, undo the condition, and then you have to look back and say, okay, where did I come up? You know, where did I come from? What's the stories I'm telling myself? And I guess that then ties into this whole negativity thing, right? Because it's like, okay, I'm gonna start a business. All I need to do is call 10 people a day, but then you procrastinate. Well, why? It's because there's a thought in your head that says, if I call this person, they're gonna laugh at me, which is obviously complete nonsense. But that thought's there nevertheless. Now, if you listen to that thought, it won't allow you to move forward.
You just never take any action.
Exactly. So by actually stepping into the areas that you're not supposed to step into, quote unquote, this causes transformation. This is how you shift as a person, by actually putting yourself in the areas and the environments. And here's the thing, right? There's also another social conditioning which is also very insidious, which is this idea that being wealthy or being rich is somehow negative or bad. It's neither good nor bad. It's just
what it is. And isn't it interesting that you say that, yeah? Because we have this stigma around poverty and the type of life that we live within our environments. However, we still look at people with abundance as somehow selling out or not having, like, not being as worthy of it. So, and that's the thing, it's kind of like a paradox, because we're all trying to better ourselves and kind of get out of the poverty mindset then, but then we still on some level look at people with money as being not something that you want to be. So it's like, which one is it?
Is it done by design or not, right? I mean, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but all of these ideas are in place that keep us from, because it's like trying to drive with one foot on the brake, one foot on the accelerator, you know? And you have to, and so my whole thing is about self-awareness. And we can go, I don't know how esoteric we want to go.
Bro, this is my show, we can do what we want.
So you have to come to there's a whole spiritual side of this that we haven't even touched on yet. And for me, spirituality is funny because when we say spirituality, most people see that as woo-woo, you know, airy-fairy
stuff and all that,
right?
Yeah.
But actually, for me, what spirituality means is that which is permanent.
Interesting. Explain that.
So, for example, there's something about you that's never changed. Like this table, right? And this building, and this, and okay, so now we're into transformation. Right? As I express these ideas and thoughts, watch how there's a certain energy or feeling that comes. And this is the transformative juice, we can call it. Right? So, just conceptualize this for a second, right? This building, let's say, I don't know when this building was founded, but let's say it was like 20 years ago. So 30 years ago, we'd be sat on the floor right now. So this building is not permanent. Whenever they decide to knock this building down, it's not going to be
gone.
here. But because of the perception of time, we think, okay, this is real,
it's
right?
It's a permanent thing,
Right. But it's not. So what is permanent? And this is what I see as spirituality.
Okay.
So it's that has never changed. It's that part of us that, and the only thing that hasn't changed about us is awareness. And I want you to argue with me here.
The thing is, it's difficult for me to argue because I've always looked at myself as a 3-dimensional being, yeah? So that's mental, physical, and spiritual. Whereas in this society, we're not taught to, we're taught to be 2D, physical, mental. Keep your body fit, keep your mind sharp, you'll be fine. But you see, that type of thinking is like...
Are we even taught that though?
But, well, the thing...
To keep your mind sharp.
I'll tell you why you are to an extent, yeah? Because you have to go to school until a certain age, yeah? And the concept of school is to educate your mind. Not saying it does that, I'm saying the concept of it within society is you go to school,
Yes,
you go to college, or you go uni, you get a job, yeah? So that you feed that society beast, as it were, yeah? But in terms of the spiritual side of it, you're not taught to focus on that.
No.
But you see, when you don't, it's like that's when you get a breakdown in the other things. Because 100%. If you look at, like, obviously mental health has been a big thing in lockdown, a very big thing, because people's normality have been changed. The things that they've done for maybe 20, 30 years, it's not like that anymore. And that affects people. But when you try and, like you said, if you go back to basics and you nurture the spirit first, not saying just focus on that, but I'm saying if it's something you've never thought about and this concept of spirit is always there and it's like, well, I've always focused on these other things. If you focus on the thing that you've not really thought about, then you can see change, and that's something that I believe in. So I'm not going to argue with your concepts because it's something I believe in. And if I really felt that it wasn't, I probably wouldn't have you on the show. It's my show. But yeah, carry on, continue.
Exactly. So just to pick up where you left off, right, is that's the key. That's why I brought it up, is that you have to have that foundation of something to hold on to, so that when the world shifts around you, actually, at my core, there's a stability, there's a knowing, there's a consistency. And I think as humans, we need that. And then just to kind of pick up on the whole being taught around the whole mental thing, I want to just highlight this because I think it's super key. And I think in the future, it's where my work will lead to, is we're taught to prioritize intellect, but not prioritize the health of our mind.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
Because, see, I've never heard this before, right? And it blows my mind. And that is very simple, right? We know that if we want to stay physically in shape, we have to do something. Health is not a given.
Yeah.
Like, we have to exercise, we have to work out. Okay, now I'm strong. But why do we not say the same thing about our mental health? So all these people that are struggling with depression, anxiety, what is really being done to actually train your brain, to actually coach? So, and again, the conversation comes full circle. So when I'm practicing happiness and my life seems to be working out, it's because I'm actively training my mind to become happy. So when your mental state is not in a good place, but then you're not doing anything actual to do it, right? And really, this is, school should be about, how do you look after the mind?
Talk about it.
How do you look after your physical health? How do you look after your finances?
Thank you. And that, you see that? I'm glad we got there, because like I have conversations with my daughter all the time, yeah. She's 9 now. Yeah. I struggled with maths in school. Struggled, yeah. And I never understood why, because intelligence is not an issue for me. But the reason why I struggled with maths is because I had no intentions of building planes, yeah? So geometry is good, don't get me wrong. Like, I've set up the cameras today, that's geometry, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, yeah, if you taught me economics, yeah? If you taught me the basics of economics in school, when I left school, I could have started a business. Well, I did start a business. But what I mean is I would have been prepared.
Yes.
Yeah, so even if they just taught you the basics, which is what I teach my daughter, when you leave school, you don't necessarily have to work for someone, but you have to earn money, yeah? A consistent money. Why? Because you have to pay rent, or pay your mortgage, or if you're fortunate enough, you can buy your own house. But you still need to pay water rates, you still need to pay tax. There's certain things that, regardless to your status in this world financially, you have to pay them. Otherwise, it creates other problems for you. So if they taught that in school, if they taught the basics of savings, like even just when someone says to you, when you get a job, save 10%. Just save 10%, regardless of what job it is, paper round or CEO. Save 10% as a minimum, yeah?
It's just the fundamentals of life and living.
But that's the thing.
And interacting in society.
But if you're not taught that in school, in college, then it's not the fundamentals.
But look at the outcome. Look at society. I don't know the stats. I'm not a statistician, but the amount of people in debt.
But that's
in the UK. The amount of people with mental health problem in the UK.
And how much of the mental health is linked to money? Probably a high percentage.
There you go.
I'm not a statistician either, but it's probably a high percentage.
So even as myself, as we can call myself like a holistic coach, right? Is to understand the importance of finances and economics now, you know, and it's to have the confidence to be like, look, it's not like if I'm gonna do you the best service, and you know this is why I'm here today. It's like when we used to train, it was like it was never just about the physical, right? But now it's like if I was gonna go back into personal training, I'm gonna give you a module of how to manage your money.
Yeah.
Because I understand that, you know, in order for you to be physically peak shape, money helps.
Yeah, and obviously because the foods that are better for you are more expensive.
There you go.
And that's why it's like there's such a high level of diabetes and other kind of high blood sugar things that affect our communities, because we kind of have to ration. We have to go for the like, for example, my dad when he was younger, like they were the first black family on Lockley's Road, from Jamaica, the Windrush era. But they were poor. Like certain times you had tea and biscuit for tea. But now, as you get older, because you had that so much when you were young.
That's probably where the saying
you got
comes from, right?
Bro,
you got
sugar. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, and that's the thing. It's like that's another thing that I think does contribute to our communities. I don't want to say nothing negative. Our communities, like way that we are, because a lot of our parents and grandparents came from other countries, so they had to come here and adjust to the way economics are here, the way that the system is here. And again, like what we're saying, because you're not taught certain things in school, it's like you have to, like you said, almost unlearn everything that you had there, relearn here again, and adjust to society all at the same time. So,
and that's if you've got the mental strength to want to educate yourself, to want to. I think by the time you reach your 30s, you're so beaten down by life because you weren't prepared for the realities of life that now you're just a victim of life, essentially.
Yeah, and you just become in that cycle, and that's what I mean about the importance of teaching our youngers, from early, which is one of the reasons why I do this podcast, so that they have, or they can reach out to people who have the information, because that's one of the things that I've kind of been able to do as I got older. Like, I've always been good at interacting with people, and I've always been good at soaking up knowledge from people. But the thing is, if you don't know who to talk to ask these things, you're just always in ignorance until you meet that person.
Well, listen, this is the thing, right? And this actually blows my mind, which is my grandmother's grandmother would have probably been in slavery.
That's how it really is.
So we're not talking like, 10, 15 generations. We're talking 4 generations ago.
Like what, 100
So
years?
when I look at what my grandma, I found this out recently, she came here by herself as a teenager, Windrush time, and made a place and a home. So in terms of like practicing gratitude, like for you to be, like for my parents to meet, for what my grandma went through, and then even then I could criticize my mum and say, oh mum, you didn't give me the financial education, you didn't because my mom's still learning.
Exactly.
My dad's still, so to be where we are now, and going back to the point, luckily when I say mentors, I generally take my mentors as people I watched on YouTube, because I've spent hours, I'm talking, possibly hundreds of hours with different individuals that I saw like there's something about this person I like. I'm gonna consume them, learn from them, take what I didn't learn growing up, and craft a vision for myself, a person for myself. And I think because of the internet, because of podcasts, because of conversations like this, and having access to it now, this is why we're seeing evolution of the human a lot faster now. And going back to the whole depression thing, I think this is the thing. I feel that once humans have a certain level of comfortability and survival's not in question anymore, now you have to then develop certain other areas, which is the mental. So this is why, if you think of the opposite of depression, is elevation. So that's what it's time for now.
100%. So, with that being said, give us the people, 5, I guess, techniques or steps that they can use to A, increase happiness, and B, to start the steps to transformation. And I say that because I'm a big enthusiast of self positivity. Yeah, like, I used to watch Les Brown, and that's the first guy like I really watched that was inspiring me. I like Tony Robbins and stuff, but his story was just a bit too far from me for me to connect to it. Whereas Les Brown's was a bit more like he was the youngest twin. He was put up for adoption. He was told he had learning difficulties, and he still like though. And I probably shouldn't, but I do like the underdog. I just do. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just do. But the reason I ask that is because I always find it like there's times where I really want to believe what someone's saying in terms of all you have to do is this, but I always feel like the motivational speakers are missing a step in terms of practicality as to how do you take the first steps to start to transform your life for the positive, because it's not an easy thing, as you've said, and obviously when you start, as someone who's gone through it myself, when you start to take steps of transformation, it can be scary because a lot of things change at one time, and they could be things that are perceived negatively. However, change is just change, and things start to happen a lot at once. So what are some of the steps that people can take to, small steps, not, they don't have to be big ones, that people can take on a day-to-day that can transform or start that journey of transformation and happiness?
Yeah. So there's only one thing that's actually required, that's needed, and that is intention, or to say another way, willingness. Because naturally, we all have a seed of what we all want is expansion. What you're talking about, transformation and happiness or betterment, is all about expansion. We want to expand into happiness, joy, love. And again, to bring the money back into it, it's about beautification. We want our surroundings to be beautiful. That's what we're moving towards. And all you have to do is just be willing, because that willingness it's like a fire. It doesn't go out. That's what will cause you to go and seek out. And you said it yourself, you was more of a fan of Les Brown and Tony Robbins. Everybody has to find their own way. So this is why what's beautiful about it. It's the same with why there's no magic bullet for weight loss as well. It's because we all have our own, I call it like karmas, that we have to go through in order to actualize ourselves. And it's by overcoming these certain challenges that we actualize ourselves. And you have to have that willingness to go and search and go and find and go and seek.
So, for example, I'm just thinking about something that someone could do now. So what, like 10 minutes a day just focusing on being happy? Is that a good start? Or
so all right, so okay.
You see, like those. I know what you're saying, and it's because you've gone through it. You're at this space where it's very big. I'm just talking about someone who's not probably ever considered it. Something they can do every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just to get that process.
All right, I would say it's a toss up. No, it's not really a toss up. Meditate, hands down, meditation.
And how do you do that? Because that's explain that process.
All right, so meditation is really simple. You sit upright, no headrest, and you close your eyes. And you wouldn't try and run a marathon, right? Before you could jog around the block, right? So start with 2 minutes. Set a timer on your phone, close your eyes, and sit for 2 minutes. That's it. That's the nuts and bolts of it, right? To take it a step further, you can focus on your breath, all right? And every time you start thinking, or you realize, I'm gone off in my head, you go back to the breath. Work up to 20 minutes a day, and that's it. I would say 20 minutes a day is enough, but start with 2 minutes. If And the reason why meditation is so important is because it goes back to what we were saying about spirituality and finding this consistency. There's a difference between an intellectual idea and a knowing. A knowing is a lived experience. So I know I've had experiences which show me there's a lot more to reality than just the physical, right? But the only way you're going to know that is by doing it. When you start to meditate, you'll slowly get in tune with something that is beyond the mental and the physical body. So this is why I say that's really the first place to start, is because, and I wanted to make this point earlier, right? Is understanding yourself as awareness is important because, like you said, if you're just the mind and the body, if there's a problem with the mind and the body, then your whole world crumbles. But if you have the spiritual, then you have something to fall back on.
It's true.
It's like, if I believe myself to be my mind, right? Then if my mind says, oh, by the way, I'm depressed, then guess what? I'm depressed. This is what shows up in your space. And then whatever comes with that, you know, can't function in society, low energy. But then if you have this foundation practice of meditation and you start to separate out thoughts from who you are, who you actually are, now you can sit back and look at it and be like, I'm depressed. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, I'm hungry. Okay. Anything else? I'm this. Do you see what
And
I'm
it's
saying?
interesting you say that, right? Because I read a lot of books. I've always read a lot. And I read a book one time and it said, I can't remember what book it is. It's probably in a few books actually. But what it basically says is that we as beings, yeah, that are living, the experiences we have, it's like we don't necessarily have to attach ourselves to them. For example, I was driving a few months ago, yeah, and my car wheels came away from the car when I was driving. And obviously I was
You
like,
wouldn't be attached to your wheels, by the way.
yeah, so obviously I was thinking, well, it's funny, I wasn't thinking I was going to die, even though I could have easily died, yeah, and my dad said to me after, because at the time I was going through a part of my transformation where I felt like I wasn't having a good week that week, let's put it that way.
Okay.
And that was like the ultimate of that week. And I'm thinking to myself, like, because I believe in karma a lot, and I always feel like I'm someone who tries to be very intentional about being positive and not doing things to other people that will bring them harm in any way, like just as a basic, yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, to my head, like, I know that I hope I haven't done anything that would warrant this, yeah. But my dad was saying to me, well, you didn't die. Not saying that would have meant that you did, but you didn't. And it's like, mechanical failure has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, it's like, but it happened to me, and that's what I mean.
Make it
about
personal.
The attachment. We make everything personal. So sometimes, like, I've had things in the past where things have happened. Now I look at it, I can say, well, that was just business, really. That person didn't really have bad intention towards me. It was just business, or something may have happened that I was collateral damage then as a result of that. But we do take it so personal because we are spiritual beings, like you said, and we feel things. It's not like a robot where you can just be like, oh, that happened. As you said, with meditation, you can have that separation where you can acknowledge that it happened, but it's not the be-all and end-all of that moment. It's just a moment from a number of moments that will happen.
It's huge. It's everything. It's literally everything. And then it's difficult to explain the dynamics of how reality actually works, but because we are awareness, the one way to explain it is that we're a space and stuff shows up in that space. When we attach ourselves to certain things, right? Like, oh, this happened to me, so blah, blah. There's no room for anything new to come in that space. So when I'm talking about we want to expand, we can't expand if we're attached to this happened to me when I was 5, this happened to me when I was 10, you know, and again, it's not to marginalize that or make it any less meaningful to us, and it's not helpful to attach ourselves to things, to cling on to things.
Yeah,
you're totally right.
And I think the thing is as well, like, especially as a creative, yeah, like, a lot of things that have happened to me, I've been able to use in my music and other stuff. So, but at the same time, I do feel like as humans, we define ourselves by the things that we hold on to, because that's our story.
Yeah.
But on a bigger scale, I understand what you're saying in terms of, if you're holding on to this with both hands, how can I grab that?
Yeah.
Because both my hands are full.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
You know, you said it. So well just then is that as humans we define ourselves by what's happened to us, and that's the secret. It's just like, and here's the beautiful. This is the most powerful thing I can say in this whole talk, which is it's about what you believe, and you get to decide what you define yourself as. And I'm not talking about like it's minute to minute. So in this moment, do I define myself as sad, miserable, depressed, or do I define myself as happy, successful, and of value? You know, and there's a choice that we get to choose to make ongoingly. And I understand that there needs to be a certain level of freedom, and one access to that meditation.
Okay, so now we've done the groundwork, yeah. So what's next for you project wise? Like what are you working on at the moment? What can people reach out and get from you at the moment right now?
Yeah, so the Peak Life project is out now. That is a transformational course. Essentially, it's exactly what we're talking about. So you asked the question like, okay, how do I start to develop myself? This is one tool. You take it and it's magic. It does something to you. It's not that you have to intellectually learn it, it's that you listen to it, you hear the concepts being shared, and then you choose whether or not to take on. And it goes back to what I was saying about belief, right? It's like, challenge all your thoughts, challenge all your beliefs. Ask yourself, is what this person telling me, is it a helpful belief or is it not? Is this thought I'm thinking, does it serve me? Is it useful to believe this? Right? And then that's it. So project wise, I like to make everything about me. Personally, I see it like this. There's an inner world and an outer world, right? And they're not separate. For me, right now, I'm coming home to myself. Call it vibrational alignment, call it feeling good, whatever you want to call it. When I feel good from the inside out, everything is, because that's really all there is. You know, it's like my experiences from here. So that's really my main focus, is minute to minute. It's actually living what I'm talking about, living all of these principles. So, you know, choosing better thoughts, choosing my alignment, choosing to keep myself well. Part of that has to be to maintain things physically, and this is where the external comes out. So some basic things for me is just drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, exercising, and breathing correctly.
So on the exercising point, are you in the gym right now or are you on different exercises?
Yeah, so I work out in the park. I use the bars, I do calisthenic training, and I run. And if I can't do those two, I'll do yoga, stretching, or like press ups at home. So I'm doing something most days. Let me just clean that up. So I actually started writing a book called The 5 Fundamentals. And the 5 Fundamentals, because we're a process, right? In order of importance, movement is first. Because if there's no movement in your cells, what are you? Yeah. You're dead, right? After that is oxygen, because you can't live without it for a couple of minutes. And the way to think of all of this is, okay, so what is the quality of your movement? What is the quality of your breathing? Or even the air? What is the quality of your sleep? Sleep's more important than water. If you go 24 hours without sleep, messes you up, right?
Yeah, you know it, yeah.
You can go 24 hours, 48 hours even without water.
Yeah.
Kind of functional, right?
Yeah.
Try it without sleep. So this is just bringing sleep a bit higher on the scale of like, okay.
It's needed.
Yeah. Then, your hydration. Like, what's the quality of your hydration? And then, what's the quality of your food? Nutrition. Nutrition, I think, there's an over importance on nutrition, the importance of nutrition. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of it is done as like a selling point.
It's marketing, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then also, here's the thing, right? Whether you're vegan, whether you're meat eater, whatever, the question is like, what's it doing up here, right? It's the same with vaccine versus anti-vaccine, right? It's no good you being pro-vax or anti-vax if you're arguing about it, because it's your vibration that's getting messed up regardless. And your vibration, right, is your health.
Yeah.
So that has to be the focus, is even with the 5 fundamentals, that's secondary to the internal way I keep myself. Because this is what I'm saying, is like we're so powerful and it's just not understood.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go here. Kundalini, your energy system, right? So when I sit up straight, my spine is straight, my spine is stacked. There's something that happens. I'm actually more intelligent now than I was a second ago, being slouchy. So you have to understand the body from the energetic perspective as well. We're talking about expansion. You want to expand your consciousness. Understand breath work, prana, energy, and kundalini. That's just a little giveaway tip, as if people really want to do this thing on a higher level.
Yeah, I know these things. But for the people who don't know these things, what's the roots of these terms? Are they Buddhist? Are they from Indian tradition?
Yeah, so like yogic traditions and Buddhist traditions. Ancient Indian yogic practices mostly. I would say the ancient Indian traditions, they figured out the human body
a long time ago.
Yeah, better than anybody else. A great book is Autobiography of a Yogi.
Do you know the interesting thing? I think that in those times, they were less distracted and had more time to focus on it. Now that's not to say we don't have the time now, but I'm just saying then to some extent was a simpler time, and they had more people dedicated to that type of thinking.
It's just culture.
Yeah.
It's just culture. So when you look at like what we focus on in the West in regards to like making money or capitalism, the capitalist way, and it all goes down to the indoctrination from school. It's just natural that we just don't have the inner faculties as it should be, because and this is the thing, right? It's again understanding energy and understanding ourselves as awareness. This is why understanding or starting to define ourselves as awareness can be helpful, because now it allows for like new possibility.
So now that you've kind of, I don't want to say enlightened, it's cliche, but now that you're kind of in heightened awareness then, are there any things that you don't do now that you did do a year ago based on your heightened awareness?
Yeah, there's loads. But again, it's like a constant process. So essentially, like, it's self-mastery. I'm refining myself on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis,
So for example, music, is there anything that you don't listen to that you used to love?
Oh yeah, and hip-hop, it's definitely for sure.
Okay.
For sure. When I say hip-hop, I'm talking about, we could call it like gangster rap.
Okay.
Just like blatant, unconscious, like. And here's the thing, right? This is the thing. I am saying this knowing that I'm giving away my power to it. Because as humans, you're strong enough that you can listen to and engage in anything, even to the deepest unconscious level.
And it doesn't have to actually affect you.
It doesn't, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
But you have to have a certain level of like
sensitivity when you're going through transformation. That's why I asked you the question.
There you go, bro.
Because it's like, obviously I'm an artist myself, but I've never been an artist that kind of promoted negative stuff, and over the years in some forums, like I took flack for that, like because of where I'm from and maybe my circle and what I maybe used
But it's what's expected, right?
Yeah, but the thing is like my thing has always been, you never know where the listener is. For example, I can listen to, like, I mostly listen to R&B, it's just what I love, but when I make music, I make rap. But depending on what I say, I don't know how it's going to affect someone. And it's one of those things where it's like, you have to be aware of the sensitivity of other people when you create art. This is my perspective. But I still love Ice Cube. I still love all the people that Game, all the people that you would, and I'm a fan of drill. Now it's quite obviously drill right now that's quite controversial, because a lot of blame of knife crime and a lot of the younger deaths and stuff that have been happening in our community and other communities is blamed on drill music. Now for me, it's like, I feel it's too easy to blame a genre of music for people's actions, And the reason I say this is because when we were like younger, yeah, we had grime. Like grime was new. It was rebel music. Our parents weren't interested in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And things happened at grime raves. Like things happened. When I used to go bar and all, like it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
But to now say that like drill now is how the young people express themselves musically, yeah. Now, do I like all the content? Nah. But but as I said, back to my original point, I've never been someone who glorified
This is it.
crime.
So,
Like
the
crime to other humans.
The question is it art imitating life or is it life imitating art?
But for them, that's their life. And this is my point about the fact that if they didn't have this expression, like there are stars in grime, in drill, sorry, like Digga D, for example. I'm a fan of his. Not saying I'm a fan of how he lives, I don't know him. But I'm a fan of his music. And I'm a fan of the fact that he has a creative outlet to feed his family and his peoples, to make money, as opposed to what he was doing before when he went prison at night. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like.
So I do totally, and I kind of like. So again, going back to the art imitating life, life imitating art, and actually, we could use an example from my own experience. I used to DJ, and I used to DJ grime.
Yeah.
And I was getting very successful. Now in Bristol, there was 2 predominant crews, and I was in a 3rd crew.
Yeah.
Because I had ties to London and stuff, and essentially those 2 crews started to have like beef over music, which eventually spilled out into
real life,
right? And someone got stabbed.
Yeah, I remember.
And this caused me to come out of music at that time because that's not what I was in it for. So, what is it that art is imitating life? Or I think it's both. And this is what we have to now be conscious around, is understanding the power of word. So understanding that if you're an artist, what you say is going to influence people. They're going to listen to it and they're going to... So you have to be responsible in your choice of like knowing that, okay, I'm putting this out.
And people are impressionable.
And we see this all the time with artists where they start off in their career a certain type of way and then they evolve as time goes on. I still love hip hop. I still love I love all forms of music, all forms of art. But then the question is what's this doing to my vibration?
And you hear it differently now because of the journey that you've had.
Yeah, exactly. It's just. You know, it's funny. I don't know if you're familiar with if you've seen the Kanye West interview that was on
Drink Champ. Yeah. Amazing. Do you know why?
Go ahead.
Because I underestimated the influence that the media had on me about him. And the reason I say this is because he doesn't do many interviews. He's a man of few words. But when I watched the interview and I heard him speak coherently in consecutive, in a consecutive way, it's like
you appreciate his genius.
You appreciate A, his genius, B, what he's done for the culture, and C, the fact that the media have been so against him with his success for 20 years. Even his marriage, it's like he doesn't get a moment of peace. And it's like you hear things about him wearing the red hat with the president. You hear but all you hear is those things. But you don't hear about him creating these mini villages in Wyoming where all the food is based on Dr. Sebi's diet.
So let me tell you why I brought this up, right? Is we were talking about music and vibration music. Now he explicitly expresses about the algorithm and how the 808 and how it affects people's vibration. So understand the level of manipulation that we're susceptible to is this. But that's not my favorite part of it. My favorite part of the interview is very subtle, but I'm gonna break it down. So for the people who haven't seen Drink Champs, is it DJ FN? EFN?
EFN,
And Nori, right?
Yeah.
So
is this part 1 or part 2
of the interview?
Yeah.
I've only seen one interview.
Okay,
so I don't know if it's like a
part 2 was hard, but anyway, carry on.
So EFN, the whole thing is about celebrating artists. So every now and again, when there's an accomplishment, EFN will pick up a noise horn and he'll blow it, right?
Don't like it, yeah.
Right. Now Kanye West at some point he said, can we not do that?
After the first one, he said, don't do that because I don't like it.
Right. what he said was, I have a delicate mental.
Yeah.
Right? Now, two things about that. One, not many people are of a certain... Kanye West is seen as arrogant, but it's not. It's overwhelming self-esteem.
Yeah.
So he values himself so much that if he's in an environment and someone's doing something he doesn't like, even if it's on their platform, he's going to say, do you mind?
Yeah.
Very simple. So that's the first thing, right? Is understand how great we are over here and the importance of keeping ourselves a certain way. That's the first point. The second point is his level of understanding about messing up the vibration. Right now I'm developing certain automated services, mostly online. That's gonna mean that I don't have to work traditionally. I don't have to trade my time for money, so that I can further pursue these concepts and ideas and develop them, so that I can teach them and pass them on. Yeah.
So, naming the project again, or the course, should I say?
So the course is Peak Life Project.
Yeah.
That's just one of the things. I've actually got a book coming out teaching men how to be better in bed.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother... I don't know how much time we got.
Do you know what? We're going to save that one for another episode, because that sounds nuts still.
Yeah, it's a lot still. It's a lot.
So, check the description for the socials. If you want to get in contact with Keiran, all the information is going to be there. We'll just leave it like that. But my brother, thank you for coming through.
Real conversation.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for holding
And
this
we're going to
space.
get you back season 2 to discuss that book.
Yeah, I love that.
You heard it here first, yeah? Make It Easy, the podcast, episode 2, special guest Keiran Miller, and we're out.